Hello and welcome. My name is Maker and this is my challenge guide for Path of Exile Settlers of Kalguur. This video is focused on presenting methods to achieve challenge completions that are viable in SSF environment, without trading or challenge sharing. Learning how to complete challenges by yourself is a great way to improve your understanding of game mechanics. I also recommend checking out Vironlawck CK's written guide available on Reddit. Link is in the description below the video. Challenge 1. Beginner's Basics. Equip a magic flask. Every character starts with 2 small life flasks of normal rarity. Simply use 1 Orb of Transmutation on one of them. They are quite common. Use an Orb of Alchemy. Orbs of Alchemy can be used on normal rarity items to upgrade them into rares. Simply use 1 Orb of Alchemy on any normal rarity weapon, armor, or jewelry. Kill a rare monster. You will find normal, magic, rare, and unique monsters throughout the game. Rare monsters have a distinct yellow glow around them. Simply kill one of them. Fully clear the Fetid Pool. This task is the same as objective of Act 1 side quest, A Dirty Job. Simply go to Fetid Pool from Mudflats location and kill every enemy inside. Once you're done, Tarkli will provide you with 1 Book of Regrets. All of these tasks can be completed early in Act 1. Challenge 2. Starting Settlements. Enter Kingsmarch. You can access Kingsmarch by talking to Johan present in Act 1 Lionice Watch, as well as every other Act town. Hire free workers. You can hire workers through Kingsmarch Recruitment Center, which is managed by Raulf, located inside of the tavern building. Have 1000 or more gold in treasury. Gold can be obtained everywhere from slain enemies or containers. Simply gather 1000 gold and deposit it into Kingsmarch treasury. Establish 4 Kingsmarch jobs. You can establish jobs by building their corresponding buildings. For that, you will need to upgrade your recruitment center to at least rank 2. At that point, you will have 4 Kingsmarch jobs available to be established. Challenge 3. Peddlers Produce 1. Complete vendor recipes. Ruby, Topaz, or Sapphire ring. This vendor recipe requires 1 iron ring along with a single red, green, or blue gem. Depending on which color of gem is used, the resulting ring will change. Gems can be acquired from enemies, quests, or vendors. Agate, turquoise, or citrine amulet. This vendor recipe requires 2 different single attribute amulets and 1 Orb of Transmutation. Depending on amulets used, the outcome of recipe will change accordingly. Magic boots with 10% increased move speed. This vendor recipe requires 1 normal rarity boots, 1 Quicksilver flask, and 1 Orb of Augmentation. Hardest item to acquire early is a spare Quicksilver flask to use in this recipe. You will receive 1 from Nessa after completing Mercy Mission quest in Act 1, as well as 1 from Yina for completion of the Great White Beast quest in Act 2. Onyx Amulet. This vendor recipe requires any amulet along with 1 of each gem color. Gems can be acquired from enemies, quests, or vendors. Challenge 4. Act Adversaries 1. This challenge will be completed passively by simply playing through the campaign. Each of required boss encounters is End of Act boss. After Act 5 Kitava boss fight, your resistances will be permanently lowered by 30%. Challenge 5. Antagonistic Acts. Defeat a monster holding an essence. Essence encounters usually contain a rare enemy with 1 or more essences affecting them. Each essence will cause them to be more dangerous and possess additional abilities. You will need to click on them 3 times to initiate the encounter. There is guaranteed essence encounter very early in Act 1. Dweller of the Deep, located within flooded depths, will always be imprisoned by a low-level essence. Complete a Legion encounter. Legion encounters contain armies of 2 opposing factions that are locked in stasis. After initiating a Legion encounter by touching Timeless Monolith, you will need to free them before timer runs out. Afterwards, any enemies or containers that were released from stasis can be killed and opened. There is guaranteed Legion encounter in Act 1. Within The Climb, there is Lionized Standard interactable lore object with Timeless Monolith nearby. This is one-time encounter. Open a Strongbox. Strongboxes are special containers that will release multiple packs of enemies when opened. There are different types of boxes that can contain specialized types of loot. While they're quite common, there is a guaranteed Strongbox encounter during Act 1 within Upper Prison. It's one-of-a-kind Chemist's Strongbox that contains flasks. It's not found anywhere else in the game, and can be extremely useful for acquisition of additional Quicksilver flasks. Complete a ritual. Ritual encounters are composed of ritual altars with marked circles around them. Any monsters slain within the circles will be respawned during the actual ritual encounter. After initiating the encounter, any monsters that were previously captured will now grant tribute when slain. Tribute can be exchanged for various rewards called favors. There is guaranteed a ritual encounter during Act 2 within Northern Forest as well as Dread Thicket. Challenge 6. Basic Beginnings. Complete a shipment. This task requires sending a ship along with some materials to one of available port destinations. Minimum value of any shipment has to be at least 100. Which means that you only need to send a few bars of smelted metal or a few crops. Your ship needs crew members. Having higher ranked shipping specialists will improve maximum value of shipments that can be sent without incurring unnecessary risk. Have a total of 1000 of any metal bar in your King's March stockpile at once. This task requires having in possession 1000 bars of any smelted metal. Once you secure mining spots for your miners to extract raw ore from, your smelters will process it into bars at 1:1 ratio. These bars are worth significantly more than raw ore during shipments and are required for many town upgrades. Simply make sure to not spend your processed metals too quickly. Have a total of 1000 of any crop in your King's March stockpile at once. This task requires having in possession 1000 crops of any kind. Your farmers can be assigned to grow specific types of crops on available plots. Simply assign some farmers towards farming a single type of crop until you reach 1000 units. Disenchant an item. This task requires disenchanting an item. You will be only able to disenchant magic items at first, so make sure you have at least one prepared. Disenchanters will destroy the item after the required amount of time has passed, and will provide thaumaturgic dust based on item's properties. This dust can be used for shipments, town upgrades, as well as Recombinator. Use any runesmithing craft. This task requires application of rune enchantment on a weapon. Only non-unique weapons can be enchanted, with one notable exception. Runesmithing enchantments cannot coexist with harvest or heist enchantments. Each enchantment will require a certain amount of runes as well as high enough level of runesmithing station, which is located right next to the smelters. Runes required for these enchants can only be acquired by sending shipments to Ribenfell, Pondium, or Kalguur port destinations. They can also drop from special Settlers of Kalguur bosses, but those are hard to encounter until reaching endgame. Challenge 7. Act Adversaries 2. This task is a continuation of Act Adversaries 1. You will unlock this challenge passively when progressing throughout second half of the campaign. Each of campaign encounters required is located at the end of their corresponding act. After completion of Kitava fight at the end of Act 10, your resistances will be lowered by additional 30%. This penalty cannot be removed and stacks with the previous one for a total of negative 60% to all resistances. Challenge 8. Powerful Prey. The Great White Beast. This is a quest given by Yina in Act 2. She will ask you to kill the Great White Beast inside of the den side area. You can enter it from old fields. Simply enter the den and slay the beast. You will receive a selection of flask and belts to choose from. Most take an additional Quicksilver Flask. Sever the Right Hand. This is a quest given by Maramoa in Act 3. She will ask you to kill General Gravitius in the Ebony Barracks. You can reach it after unlocking a passage through the blocked sewer exit. You will receive a selection of skill gems to choose from, as well as expanded inventory of gems available for purchase at Clarissa. The Gemling Legion. This is a quest given by Maramoa in Act 8. She will ask you to kill the Gemling Legion within the Grain Gate area. They are near exit from that zone to the Imperial Fields. You can usually reach them by following corpses strewn all over the place. You will receive a Book of Skill, providing 1 passive skill point. Fastis Fortuna. This is a quest given by Petarus and Vania in Act 9. They will ask you to find Calendar of Fortune. It is currently in possession of Boulderbuck in the foothills, and he has to be killed for it. He is located near exit towards the tunnel. You will receive a Book of Regrets, which provides 2 passive respec points. Challenge 9. Atlas Augmentation. This is the first challenge which doesn't need all tasks to be completed. You only need to complete 3 out of 7 tasks listed, so you can pick and choose the ones you prefer. Defeat Essence monsters 30 times. Essences can spawn randomly in campaign and map areas. You can force them to spawn with Essence Scarabs, Essence Mapcraft option, Atlas Notable Prolific Essence, as well as Map Implicit Modifier. Area contains X additional imprisoned monsters. Faster but less available options include Essence Scarab of Calcification or Einhar's Memory of Crystal Prisons, which will cause many imprisoned monsters to spawn in a single map. Open Strongboxes 30 times. Strongboxes can spawn randomly in campaign and map areas. You can force their appearance with Ambush Scarabs, Ambush Map Crafting option, Atlas Notable Twice Tempted, as well as Map Implicit Modifier. Area contains X additional Strongboxes. Faster but less available options include Ambush Scarab of Containment or Alba's Memory of Cascading Fortunes, which will cause many Strongboxes to spawn in a single map. Activate Shrines 30 times. Shrines can spawn randomly in campaign and map areas. You can force their appearance with multiple types of Domination Scarabs, Domination Map Crafting option, Atlas Notable Supplication, as well as Map Implicit Modifier. Area contains X additional shrines. Less available option is Kirak's Memory of the Pantheon, which will cause many shrines to spawn in a single map. Defeat Harbingers 30 times. Harbingers cannot spawn naturally. You can force their appearance with Harbinger Scarabs, Harbinger Map Crafting option, Atlas Notable Ominous Arrival, as well as Map Implicit Modifier. Area contains X additional Harbingers. Faster but less available options include Beachhead Unique Maps, Harbinger Delve Nodes, or Kirak's Memory of Faril, which will cause many Harbingers to be present. Defeat Possessed Monsters 30 times. Tormented Spirits can spawn randomly in campaign and map areas. They will move away from the player and can be pushed towards rare or unique enemies which they can possess. You can force their appearance with Torment Scarabs, Torment Map Crafting option, Atlas Notable Paranormal Meeting, as well as Map Implicit Modifier. Area is inhabited by X additional Tormented Spirits. By far, the best method of completing this challenge is to force enemies to be already possessed and skip incredibly clunky herding mechanic. For that, we can use Atlas Notable Seance, Temple of Atzoatl with Tier 2 or Tier 3 Torment Room, Torment Scarab of Possession, or Nikos Memory of Tormented Souls. Defeat Rogue Exiles 30 times. Rogue Exiles can spawn randomly in campaign and map areas. You can force their appearance with Anarchy Scarabs, Anarchy Map Crafting option, Small Atlas Passives, additional Exile spawn chance, as well as Map Implicit Modifier. Area is inhabited by X additional Rogue Exiles. Faster but less available options include Smuggler's Stash Delve Nodes and Einhar's Memory of Crystal Prisons, which will cause many rogue exiles to spawn. Defeat rare Beyond monsters 30 times. Beyond monsters cannot spawn naturally. You can force their appearance with Beyond Scarabs, Beyond Map Crafting option, and Atlas notable Scent of Blood, together with small Atlas passives Beyond Chance. Faster but less available options include Beyond Delve Nodes or Nikos Memory of Chasms, which will cause many rare Beyond monsters to spawn. There is a League-specific method for this task. Orichalcum deposit encounters are guarded by packs of Beyond demons, including rare ones. Challenge 10. Meaningful Mechanics. Keep in mind that you only need to complete 4 out of 10 tasks listed. Complete breaches 30 times. Breaches can spawn randomly in map areas. You can force them to spawn with Breach Scarabs, Breach Map Crafting option, Atlas notable Probing for Weakness, together with small Atlas passives, Breach Chance, as well as Map Implicit Modifier. Area contains X additional breaches. Faster, but less available option is Nikos Memory of Grasping Hands, which will cause many breaches to spawn in a single map. Complete Abysses 30 times. Abysses can spawn randomly in late campaign and map areas. You can force them to spawn with Abyss Scarabs, Abyss Map Crafting option, Atlas notable Underground Kingdom, together with small Atlas passives Abyss Chance, as well as Map Implicit Modifier. Area contains X additional abysses. All small Abyss Chance Atlas passives provide total of plus 76% flat chance to spawn an abyss. With Underground Kingdom allocated and currently presumed around 8% baseline chance for an abyss to spawn, I recommend use of maps with at least 16 to 24% increased pack size. Complete Expeditions 30 times. Expedition encounters can spawn randomly in late campaign and map areas. You can force them to spawn with Expedition Scarabs, Expedition Map Crafting option, Atlas notable Hunt for Answers, together with small Atlas passives Expedition Chance, as well as Map Implicit Modifier. Area contains an additional expedition encounter. Harvest Plots 100 times. Sacred Groves can spawn randomly in map areas. You can force them to spawn with Harvest Scarabs, Harvest Map Crafting option, Atlas notable Call of the Grove, together with small Atlas passives Harvest Chance, as well as Map Implicit Modifier. Area contains the Sacred Grove. Atlas passive tree has total of 110% chance to spawn Sacred Grove, so 1 plus 10% chance node doesn't need to be allocated. Each Sacred Grove will spawn with 2 to 4 harvest plots naturally. You can allocate Atlas notable Bumper Crop to reduce number of Sacred Groves required to complete this task. Complete Legion encounters 30 times. Legion encounters can spawn randomly in map areas. You can force them to spawn with Legion Scarabs, Legion Map Crafting option, Atlas notables Monumental and Constant Battle, together with small Atlas passives Legion Monolith Chance, as well as Map Implicit Modifier. Area contains an additional Legion encounter. Open Smuggler's Caches 30 times. Smuggler's Caches can spawn randomly in late campaign and map areas. You can force them to spawn with Heist Map Crafting option as well as Map Implicit Modifier. Area contains an additional Smuggler's Cache. Unlike many other mechanics, Smuggler's Caches cannot be guaranteed to spawn with Atlas passive tree alone, and don't have any associated scarabs. You can achieve total of 40% chance to spawn Smuggler's Cache along with 30% chance for an additional cache if one is already present. There is also separate 5% chance for additional 6 caches to be present under the same condition. It's best to pair Heist Specialized Atlas passive tree with guaranteed spawn chance from map crafting or map implicits. Pass through Mirror of Delirium 30 times. Mirrors of Delirium can spawn randomly in late campaign and map areas. You can force them to spawn with Delirium Scarabs, Delirium Map Crafting option, and Atlas notable That Which You Seek, together with small Atlas passives Delirium Chance. Keep in mind that maps with layers of Delirium are not counted towards this challenge, since there is no Mirror of Delirium present. Complete Ultimatum waves 200 times. Ultimatum encounters can spawn randomly in map areas. You can force them to spawn with Ultimatum Scarabs, Ultimatum Map Crafting Option, Atlas Notable Phase the Ultimatum, together with small Atlas passives Ultimatum Chance, as well as Map Implicit Modifier Area contains an Ultimatum encounter. By default, each Ultimatum encounter consists of up to 10 waves, but you can extend it to 13 by allocating Atlas Keystone Grueling Gauntlet. Complete Blights 30 times. Blight encounters can spawn randomly in map areas. You can force them to spawn with Blight Scarabs, Blight Map Crafting Option, Atlas Notable Fungal Bloom, together with small Atlas passives Blight Encounter Chance, as well as Map Enchantment Area contains a Blight encounter. Complete Rituals 100 times. Ritual altars can spawn randomly in map areas. You can force them to spawn with Blood-Filled Vessels, Ritual Map Crafting Option, Atlas Notable Sacred Lands together with small Atlas passives Ritual Chance, as well as Map Implicit Modifier Areas contain Ritual Altars. Ritual encounters can spawn with 3 or 4 altars. I recommend using Atlas Notable Occult Devotion to guarantee 4 ritual altars to spawn in every map when possible. In certain map layouts, like Pit of the Chimera, it's possible for ritual to spawn with only 1 or 2 altars regardless. Challenge 11. Proven Professionals. Keep in mind you only need to complete 2 out of 4 tasks listed. Complete Master Missions in red or purple tier maps 30 times. Currently, your maps can have multiple masters present in them at once. You can use Atlas Passive Tree to guarantee or increase odds of their presence. Otherwise, you can use basic Scarabs for each master to guarantee their presence. Challenge 12. Refined Reagents. Have at least 1000 of each crop. Crops are produced by farmers on farming plots. This subset of tasks requires 1000 of each crop type, which means you will need to upgrade your farming to at least rank 7 to be able to grow blue Xanthinum. Once you can grow all required crops, simply have your workers produce whatever you're still missing for the challenge. Have at least 1000 of each metal bar. Metal bars are produced by smelters which need raw ore to be mined by miners. Miners need the player to secure deposits while progressing through the campaign or while mapping. You will need to upgrade your mining to rank 6 and your smelting to rank 7 to be able to mine and smelt all types of metal. Once you can smelt all required metals, simply explore maps until you secure enough resources for these tasks. Most metal types can be found during campaign, but you will need to reach maps to have a chance to secure Verisium deposits. Have at least 20,000 of Thaumaturgic Dust. This task only requires rank 1 disenchanting, but I would recommend upgrading it to at least rank 2 as soon as possible, to be able to disenchant rare items for significantly more dust. Amount of dust received from non-unique items is based on many factors including their item level and modifiers, which means rare items can be worth significantly more due to having up to 6 explicit modifiers compared to maximum of 2 for magic items. Challenge 13. Crafty Currency. Use various currency items. This task requires use of 15 different crafting currencies. While most of them are quite common, Orb of Annulment, Exalted Orb, and Divine Orb are significantly rarer than the others. You can use Tiny's Trial that belongs to Guff in Transportation, Fortification, and Research Safehouses to complete some of these without expending your own hard-earned currency. Challenge 14. Overwhelming Opposition. Defeat map bosses 500 times. This task requires you to complete up to 500 maps. You can improve efficiency when doing this challenge by completing maps with multiple bosses or by having Atlas Keystone Destructive Play allocated, which will cause Maven to summon 1 to 3 additional map bosses during the fight. This league, by far, the best map for this challenge is City Square, due to great layout and presence of 3 map bosses. Taking advantage of area contains 2 unique bosses map modifier will double the natural map bosses on a map, which will further increase efficiency. Keep in mind that not all maps can roll this modifier. Challenge 15. Potent Pantheon. Fully upgrade Major and Minor Pantheon. For this challenge, you will need to acquire minimum of 4 Divine Vessels. There is no real target farming method for these, and they drop quite rarely in maps. You can use Vendor Recipe if you're desperate. Once you have Divine Vessels required, simply check Pantheon menu under Y, which map bosses need to be captured for your Pantheon of choice, and run their associated map along with empty Divine Vessel. Killing them will capture their soul, which can be used to unlock their corresponding bonus. Challenge 16. Unbelievable Undertakings. Keep in mind that you only need to complete 4 out of 10 tasks listed. Complete Bridgestones with area level 81 or higher 5 times. All Bridgestones have a minimum area level 81 or higher, so this challenge can be completed with any Bridgestone. Each Bridgestone can be acquired by gathering 100 Bridge Splinters that drop from Bridge encounters as well as Bridge-themed rewards from other types of content. I recommend investing into Bridge on your Atlas passive tree as well as use of Bridge Scarabs to massively improve acquisition rate of required Bridgestones. Maven Invitations, the Hidden as well as the Feared, will require in total 1 of each individual Bridgestone to be completed while being witnessed by Maven. Completion of these invitations is required for acquisition of their corresponding Atlas passive points, and an act of capturing required Breach Lords will complete this task passively. I strongly recommend keeping these invitations in mind. Complete Abyssal Depths with area level 81 or higher 5 times. This task requires exploration of Abyssal Depths, which are random sub-area that can spawn at the end of an Abyss encounter in red or higher maps. For area level 81 plus that are required for this task, they will need to spawn in tier 14 or higher map. I recommend allocating Atlas Notable Awakened Depths as well as small Atlas passives surrounding it for a total of 130% increased chance for one of your abysses to lead to an Abyssal Depths. During my testing, there didn't seem to be much difference in Abyssal Depths spawn rate whether there is a single or multiple Abyss encounters present in a map. It would mean that investing in additional abysses is possibly unnecessary at best, and at worst it might be harmful for purpose of this task. Complete logbooks with 10 or more remnants with area level 81 or higher 5 times. This task requires completion of expedition logbooks after activating enough remnants. Expedition logbooks can be acquired randomly from runic monsters in maps or be available for purchase from Danig. Acquisition of logbooks can be made significantly easier by allocating Atlas Notable, Buried Knowledge, as well as usage of Expedition Scarabs of Rune Finding. Expedition logbooks themselves can be given to Danig to open a special large-scale expedition encounter, which can be very rewarding with both artifacts and loot. Completion of Expedition logbook requires defeat of all runic monsters spawned. Underground areas as well as additional non-runic monsters are not required. For weaker builds, I recommend pathing through difficult remnants last or simply skipping them to avoid making this task unnecessarily difficult. Expedition logbooks should have more than enough remnants to complete this task without huge difficulty spikes. Important note: make sure to keep an eye out for any negative modifiers that can make finishing Expedition logbook impossible for you. Any modifiers that cause monsters to be immune to a damage type will be written in clearly visible yellow-colored text, but take into account any other negative modifiers that your build may or may not be able to handle. Complete Tier 4 Harvest Seeds with area level 81 or higher 5 times. Tier 4 Harvest Seeds refers to unique harvest bosses that can randomly spawn in harvest plots. For this task, they have to spawn in Tier 14 or higher map. You can force appearance of 1 to 3 Tier 4 Harvest Seeds with use of Harvest Scarab of Cornucopia. In addition, Einhar's Memory of the Sacred Grove has incredibly high likelihood of spawning multiple Tier 4 Harvest Seeds. More passive method that doesn't require any rare scarabs or memories to complete this task would be to allocate Atlas Notable, Heart of the Grove, or Atlas Keystone crop rotation. Both of these will benefit from an addition of Atlas Notable bumper crop. Complete Domains of Conflict with at least 25 rewards with area level 81 or higher 3 times. This task is a bit complicated. You will need to use at least 4 different normal Legion emblems to open area level 81 or higher Domain of Timeless Conflict. This means that for this task you will need at least 3 sets of 4 different emblems for a total of 12 emblems. While in Domain of Timeless Conflict, slaying enemies with reward icon above their head will add that reward to the pool that will drop at the end. After being slain, monsters can be resurrected by standing for a few seconds within area in the middle. Legion emblems can be acquired by gathering 100 splinters of each faction or directly as a rare drop with Atlas Notable Emblematic and its 2 small Atlas passives Legion Timeless Emblem chance allocated. Complete blueprints with 4 revealed wings with area level 81 or higher 5 times. Heist blueprints can drop randomly from monsters, as well as from smugglers' caches. You can allocate Atlas Notable, Casing the Joint, as well as small Atlas passives, Heist blueprint chance, to increase amount of blueprints acquired. You can use 5 blueprints that lead to the same tileset in a vendor recipe to receive 1 random blueprint. This can salvage any 2 and 3 winged blueprints if you have a surplus of those. Area level of resulting blueprints will be based on level of blueprints used for this recipe. Important note: this task requires completion of all 4 wings successfully. Failure to complete a single wing will prevent that blueprint from counting as complete. Complete Simulacrum waves with area level 81 or higher 60 times. Simulacrums can be acquired by gathering 300 Simulacrum splinters, which drop during Delirium encounters. Each simulacrum can last up to 15 waves, which means you will need at least 4 simulacrums to complete this task. Due to relatively high difficulty of simulacrum encounters, clearing full 15 waves can cause problems for weaker builds, and as a result, this task might require additional simulacrums to complete. Allocating Atlas Notable, Delusions of Persecution, as well as Atlas Notable, Screaming Whispers will improve acquisition rate of simulacrum splinters required for this task. Complete Trial Master fights with area level 81 or higher 3 times. Trial Master fight can spawn during Ultimatum encounter in tier 14 or higher maps in place of last round. It will inherit all modifiers selected during Ultimatum encounter. It can be forced with Ultimatum Scarab of Dueling provided you do not allocate Atlas Keystone Grueling Gauntlet, which will prevent it from working. You will still need to reach the last round to access the fight. Without Ultimatum Scarab of Dueling, best option is to allocate Atlas Notable, Brave the Tower, along with small Atlas passives Ultimatum Boss chance for a total of 70% increased chance of Trial Master fight. Complete Blighted or Blight Ravaged maps with area level 81 or higher 5 times. This task requires completion of tier 14 or higher Blighted maps or any Blight Ravaged maps. Blighted maps can be acquired from Blight-themed Blight chests from normal Blight encounters, or Blight rewards from other types of content. Blight Ravaged maps are significantly harder and can drop within tier 13 or higher Blighted maps. Every Blight encounter in maps has at least 1 line of Blight-themed Blight chests, and it is possible to force only a single line to spawn on some map layouts, making all Blight chests from that encounter share Blight reward type. Currently, during Settlers of Kalguur League, Some of best map layouts for this strategy are Underground Sea and Toxic Sewer. They will often cause Blight encounters to spawn with very few lanes, increasing the amount of Blight-themed Blight chests that can drop blighted maps. In addition, you can allocate Atlas notable Fungal Horizons along with small Atlas passives Blighted map reward chance for both 100% increased amount of blighted maps dropping as well as special Blight Reach buff awarded on Blight encounter completion that will cause some normal maps dropped to be converted into blighted maps. Complete final rituals with Blood-filled Vessel applied in area level 81 or higher 15 times. Once you have acquired 100 ritual splinters from ritual encounters, the resulting ritual vessel can be used on ritual encounters to store all monsters that were originally captured by that specific ritual altar. This can be done once for every ritual altar. Those stored monsters can be used along with another map to both guarantee a ritual encounter in that map, as well as add those monsters to the pool of enemies spawned by those rituals. This improves both the amount of tribute and available favor rewards for purchase. To improve acquisition of splinters or pre-filled ritual vessels, you can allocate Atlas notable Sacrificial Dew as well as 2 small Atlas passives, Increased Ritual Splinters. Important note: any ritual altars that dropped Blood-filled Vessel directly or are in a map that is already under effect of Blood-filled Vessel cannot be used to fill a new ritual vessel. Challenge 17: Sublime Starlight. Use every rune for runesmithing. Runes can be acquired by sending shipments to Ribenfell, Pondium, or Kalguur ports, as well as from Settlers of Kalguur boss fights. Upgrading Runesmith will require one of each rune and is required to progress this task. You can vendor 5 copies of a single rune to acquire 1 rune of the next tier. This method works only until Time Rune and will not allow acquisition of power runes. Lowest amount of power runes that has to be used for this challenge is 3. 1 to upgrade the runesmithing building and 2 for cheapest available runesmithing enchant. Plus 2 meters to weapon range for 100 swords. It requires 2 power runes, 50 war runes, and 40 mountain runes. You can quite reliably acquire power runes when sending high-value shipments, 40 to 50 million of value, to Ribenfell. This will require ships all 6 ship hunts to be of rank 10 if you want to avoid any risk. Shipments of that size can't be sent too often, so it's best to supplement that method with smaller shipments. My personal recommendation is sending 2 Verisium bars to Ribenfell along with single tier 2 to tier 9 ship hunt. This will reward you with small amount of random scarabs as well as random assortment of runes. This way, your ships are always moving and can be captured by one of the Settlers of Kalguur bosses, which will drop a nice chunk of gold as well as multiple runes with somewhat high chance of power runes. Challenge 18. Achieve Ascension. Use Ascendancy device in each labyrinth. Ascendancy device is an interactable object located at the end of each labyrinth. Interacting with it is mandatory for ability to choose Ascendancy for your class, and acquisition of all Ascendancy points. First 3 labyrinths can be accessed during the campaign after fulfilling special conditions, and re-entered at any time afterwards without limit. Eternal Labyrinth will require a special item called Offering of the Goddess for each entry. Labyrinth, Cruel Labyrinth, and Merciless Labyrinth can be accessed at any time after completing their associated Ascendancy trials that are located throughout the campaign areas. Eternal Labyrinth only requires an offering to the goddess, which can be acquired from Ascendancy trials that can randomly spawn in tier 6 or higher maps, or from other types of content, with more notable examples being Heist, Ritual, Ultimatum, and Delve. Make sure to visit poelab.com website, since it hosts the daily labyrinth layouts that are being mapped out every day. It's also a great resource to get familiar with labyrinth mechanics. You can improve odds of Trials of Ascendancy appearing in maps by allocating Atlas Notable Trial of Glory as well as small Atlas passives Labyrinth Trial Chance for total of plus 10% chance for 1 to spawn in your tier 6 or higher maps. Challenge 19. Divine Destiny. Keep in mind that you only need to complete 3 out of 4 tasks listed. Open Diviner's Strongboxes 5 times. Diviner's Strongboxes are a rare strongbox type that will drop a random assortment of divination cards. They can be encountered randomly whenever a strongbox is present with around 2% chance, but there are ways to increase likelihood of them showing up. Allocating small Atlas passive Diviner's Strongbox chance will provide 60% increased chance for any strongbox to be Diviner's Strongbox. Ambush Scarab of Discernment, together with Ambush Scarab of Containment, will cause many strongboxes to be present with improved likelihood of rarer strongbox varieties. With additional strongboxes from Ambush Scarab and or map crafting, it's very likely to complete this task within a few maps. Last method doesn't require any investment into strongboxes on Atlas passive tree, or use of any rare Ambush Scarabs. Temple of Atzoatl Strongbox Chamber will spawn 2, 4, or 6 strongboxes, with higher room tiers improving both amount and likelihood of rarer varieties or unique strongboxes being present. It's not uncommon to see 2 or 3 Diviner strongboxes at once in a single Court of Sealed Death tier 3 room. Turn in sets of divination cards 50 times. Divination card sets can be turned in at Tasuni in Highgate or at Lily Roth in your hideout and will provide item specified on the card as a reward. While playing, you will easily gather enough divination card sets to complete this challenge. You can quicken this process by using divination scarabs and investing in any other content that can provide divination card rewards. You can focus on specific maps with common divination cards as well. One of most common divination cards that can be easily farmed is the Lover, which will only require a set of 2 cards to be turned in and can drop inside of the Cove's map during current league. Complete tier 11 or higher rare maps with Divination Scarab applied 25 times. This task will always need 25 map completions and will not count extra progress if additional Divination Scarabs were applied. There are currently 3 different types of Divination Scarabs. Divination Scarabs can be acquired randomly or alternatively target farmed by placing Gravitius inside of Intervention Division of Immortal Syndicate. He will provide 1, 2, 3, or 5 random Divination Scarabs depending on his rank. In addition, there is a Divination card set that provides a random Divination Scarab. It only drops from 3 Temple of Atzoatl Architects, and only from their Incursion variant that can be found during Incursion encounters in maps. This method will be very inefficient, and I do not recommend it. Scry a map. Scrying a map can be done whenever you meet a nameless seer. He can spawn randomly in tier 16 maps and will appear once a specific random monster pack is slain. This makes him extremely easy to miss if you're not diligently clearing monster packs. Talking to him will allow you to scry a map, which will override current natural pool of divination cards that can drop in said area with divination cards native to your current map. You can later undo this by using Orb of Scouring on your Atlas. Challenge 20. Peddler's Produce 2. Prismatic Ring. This vendor recipe requires all 3 different types of 2-stone rings. Orb of Fusing. This vendor recipe requires any 6 linked item and will provide 20 Orbs of Fusing. Regal Orb. This vendor recipe is a higher item level variant of Chaos Orb recipe. It requires a full set of rare items with lowest item level being 75 or higher. This means it will need 1 of each body armor, helmet, gloves, boots, amulet, belt, and 2 rings, as well as one 2-handed weapon or two 1-handed weapons. Bows count as 2-handed and don't require a quiver. Grasping Mail or Lore Weave. This vendor recipe requires 60 breach rings for Grasping Mail or 60 unique rings for Lore Weave. Item level of resulting body armor will be based on item level of rings used. Challenge 21. Chaotic Creations. Keep in mind that you only need to complete 5 out of 7 tasks listed. Use Chaos Orb on Experimented Base with item level 83 or higher. Experimented Base refers to special item bases only available as possible reward from curio displays during grand heists, accessed via heist blueprints. They consist of weapons, shields, and jewelry. Easiest way to acquire one at 83 or higher item level would be to run level 82 or 83 heist blueprints, with all wings revealed. Experimented bases show up quite often as possible reward. Use Chaos Orb on Ritual Base with item level 83 or higher. Ritual Base refers to special item bases that are only available from ritual encounters. They have special implicit modifiers that provide both an upside and a downside. To acquire 83 or higher item level Ritual Base, you should run tier 16 or higher maps with ritual encounters present. Use Chaos Orb on Atlas Base with item level 83 or higher. Atlas Base refers to endgame item bases that can drop anywhere while mapping. To acquire 83 or higher item level Atlas bases, simply run tier 16 or higher maps, as they do not have any special drop restrictions outside of that. Keep in mind that new 3.25 armor bases do not count as Atlas bases despite sharing certain similarities. Use Chaos Orb on Abyss Base with item level 83 or higher. Abyss Base refers to both Stygian Vice belts as well as Abyss Jewels. Stygian Vices can drop from Stygian Spires as well as Abyssal Depths bosses. Abyss Jewels can be acquired from Abyssal Troves at the end of standard Abyss encounter, or from any other source of Abyss-themed rewards. Easiest way to complete this task is to complete one Abyss in tier 16 or higher map, and use Chaos Orb on the guaranteed Abyss Jewel from the Abyssal Trove at the end. Use Chaos Orb on Expedition Base with item level 83 or higher. Expedition Base refers to all kinds of ward equipment. It can be acquired from expedition monsters during expedition encounters or expedition logbooks, but there is an easier method available. During Settlers of Kalguur League, you can send a small shipment of bismuth ore or bars to Kalguur port destination to receive runic armor. I recommend waiting until character level 90 or higher to guarantee at least item level 83 bases to return. Use Chaos Orb on Rogue Equipment with item level 83 or higher. Rogue Equipment refers to all kinds of equipable items for your rogues in Rogue Harbor. These include gear, tools, cloaks, and brushes. All of these can only drop during heist contracts or blueprints. To acquire 83 or higher item level Rogue Equipment, I recommend running at least level 81 or higher heist contracts. Use Chaos Orb on Cluster Jewel with item level 83 or higher. Cluster Jewels refer to a special type of jewels that can modify your passive tree with additional passive clusters. They are often used for endgame optimization of builds and can be acquired from Delirium encounters as well as Delirium-themed rewards from other types of content. To acquire 83 or higher item level Cluster Jewels, simply run tier 16 or higher maps with Delirium layers or Mirror of Delirium present. They drop quite often, and it shouldn't take more than 1 or 2 maps to drop at least one. Challenge 22. Gilded Goals. Have 250,000 gold in Kingsmarch Treasury. Easiest way to complete this challenge is to simply keep gold on your character until you have enough to deposit whole required amount all at once. Kingsmarch consumes gold quite quickly, and without good gold making method, it might be difficult to gather it quickly enough to offset constant expenditures. Challenge 23. Remarkable Realms. Complete 17 specific unique maps. This challenge requires completion of 15 unique maps that are present on Atlas of Worlds and will provide Atlas passive point each for completion, as well as 2 additional unique maps that aren't present on Atlas and will not provide any Atlas points. The 15 unique maps present on Atlas can drop randomly, but some are quite rare and might require a little effort to be acquired. General methods that can be used for these include Otherworldly Incubators, Rin Yushu in Research Division of Immortal Syndicate, Singular Scouting Reports, the Encroaching Darkness Divination card set. The Encroaching Darkness, a divination card set that currently drops from Beach Map as well as Olmec's Sanctum and Pillars of Arun unique maps. With drop level of 68 or higher, there are no map tier restrictions for it to drop. This card set will result in random corrupted unique map from pool of 16 unique maps. These include all 15 unique maps currently present on Atlas, as well as Hall of Grandmasters, which is not required for this challenge. Scholar of the Sea is a divination card set that currently drops from Cove's map. With drop level of 68 or higher, there are no map tier restrictions for it to drop. This card set will result in Mao Kun unique map. The Dreamland is a divination card set that currently drops randomly from Cartographer's Strongboxes. With drop level of 68 or higher, there are no map tier restrictions for it to drop. This card set will result in Purjoy's Asylum unique map. The Professor is a divination card set that currently drops from Academy map. With drop level of 68 or higher, there are no map tier restrictions for it to drop. This card set will result in the Putrid Cloister unique map. The Twilight Moon is a divination card set that currently drops from Temple map. With drop level of 68 or higher, there are no map tier restrictions for it to drop. This card set will result in Twilight Temple unique map. The Wolf's Legacy is a divination card set that can currently drop from Izaro's Treasure, Silver Caches, and Labyrinth Troves inside of Eternal Labyrinth. It can also drop from these sources inside of Empowered Eternal Labyrinth. This card set will result in Vaults of Atsiri unique map. Treasure Hunter is a divination card set that can currently drop from Underground River map as well as Maze of the Minotaur. With drop level of 68 or higher, there are no map tier restrictions for it to drop. This card set will result in Corrupted Vaults of Atsiri unique map. The Vinctar Square is one of 2 special unique maps required for this challenge that are not present on Atlas of Worlds. It can only be acquired with a vendor recipe that requires 4 different variants of Agnerod unique staves. The Stormcaller is a divination card set that currently drops from Plateau map. With drop level of 66 or higher, there are no map tier restrictions for it to drop. This card set will result in random Agnerod unique stuff. The Tower is a divination card set that currently drops from Chavron's Tower, Belfry map, and Pillars of Arun unique map. With drop level of 23 or higher, there are no map tier restrictions for it to drop. I would recommend not farming any divination cards in campaign areas. This card set will result in random unique stuff. There are currently 21 possible outcomes, 4 of which are Agnerod stuff variants. Toriani's Machinarium is one of 2 special unique maps required for this challenge that are not present on Atlas of Worlds. It can only be acquired as possible drop from Ahuatotli the Blind Delve Boss. He is present in the Grand Architect's Temple Delve nodes within Val Outpost biomes at depths 50 or below. Doriani's Machinarium is also available as possible target for your Kirak missions when rerolling them with comprehensive scouting reports. To acquire those, you will need to allocate Atlas Notable Planar Tactician. I recommend also allocating additional Kirak-themed Atlas passives to increase amount of scouting reports that drop. Challenge 24. Sanctified Scarabs 1. Complete maps with 500 total scarabs applied. This challenge can be completed with any tier of maps. Each scarab used will count. I recommend using basic scarabs alongside maps with short or simple layout, like Mesa or City Square. You can use up to 3 scarabs per map with default map device. Unlocking 5 slot and 6 slot map device will allow you to use 4 or 5 scarabs per map, improving progress on this challenge. You can unlock 1 additional slot each for beating Maven, accessed with the Maven's Writ, or completing a natural tier 17 map. Valdo's puzzle box tier 17s will not count. Scarabs drop quite often, but to increase their drop rate, I recommend allocating a few small Atlas passives, Scarab drop chance, as well as Atlas notables such as Skittering Swarms, Significant Troves, Chittering Champions, and Amplified Artifacts. Challenge 25. Gleaming Gems. Level gems to level 20, 10 times. This challenge will most likely be completed passively when leveling your own gems. With very few exceptions, most gems have natural maximum level of 20. Whenever your character gains experience, any gems that are currently socketed in your gear, including your weapon swap, will also benefit. Few methods that can be used to quicken this process are Thora's Research Bench. It will provide 20, 70, 200, or 2 times 200 million gem experience depending on rank. Important note: Thora's Bench will not level up your gems automatically, unlike other methods mentioned below. Divine Font. It can provide between 3 to 150 million gem experience per use, depending on Labyrinth. Facetor's Lens. Acquired from sacrificing gems at the Divine Font or Horty Crafting Station. Use Gem Cutter Prisms 40 times. Gem Cutter's Prism will increase quality of gem by 1% up to maximum of 20. One Gem Cutter Prism can also be vendored alongside a level 20 support gem to receive a level 1 and 20% quality version of that gem in exchange. For this task, only direct usage will count. I recommend using it on your skill gems, since those cannot be used alongside the above mentioned vendor recipe. Easiest method to acquire Gem Cutter Prisms is to vendor a selection of gems that will have total quality at or exceeding 40% quality, or single gem with 20% quality. Turn in Divination card set for a level 21 and or 23% quality gem. There are many Divination cards that can fulfill conditions for this task. My personal recommendation is the Skeleton. It can drop in Mausoleum map, as well as Acton's Nightmare Unique map. Important note: other common Divination card set, the Rite of Elements, is currently bugged and will not complete this task. Use Divine Font in Endgame Labyrinth 10 times. This task requires total of 10 uses of Divine Font at the end of Eternal Labyrinth. By default, Eternal Labyrinth will provide 2 uses, and Eternal Labyrinth of Opportunity, accessed with Gift to the Goddess, will provide 8 uses of Divine Font. Dark Shrines hidden throughout the labyrinth can also provide up to 1 additional use of Divine Font. Keep in mind that empowered Eternal Labyrinths are significantly harder than normal Eternal Labyrinth. To acquire improved offerings, which include Gift to the Goddess, you will need to allocate Atlas Notable Trial of Glory and or Shaping the Skies. Also, they rarely drop from Endgame Labyrinth treasure chests. Trial of Glory will replace some Trials of Ascendancy that spawn in your maps with a variant that will drop random improved offering upon completion. You can differentiate Standard and Improved Trial without entering it by its description. Shaping the Skies will sometimes add 1 use of special map crafting option. Currently, there are 3 available, and one of them will force Trial of Ascendancy that awards random improved offering to spawn in your map. Challenge 26. Cross Contamination. Keep in mind that you only need to complete 4 out of 6 tasks listed. Defeat Harbinger while in breach. This task is quite easy. Harbingers will only lose health whenever packs of their summoned minions are defeated. That allows you to set up a situation where there is a Harbinger that has spawned nearby to a breach and is very close to dying. To make this task easier, I recommend ensuring additional Harbingers and breaches spawn to improve odds of them being close to one another. Scarabs and Atlas passives should work best together. I also recommend allocating Atlas Notable Heavy Breach and avoiding any that make breaches open and close faster, like Atlas Notable Flash Breach or Small Atlas Passive Breach Speed. Defeat unique map boss that is possessed while in ritual. This task will only count unique map boss that was captured and spawned as part of ritual encounter. That means that kiting a boss that is already possessed into a ritual will not work. There are 2 main methods I would recommend for this task. First is to run maps until Haunted Ritual Altar spawns one of its altars inside of boss arena. Whenever that happens, make sure to run that ritual altar first to ensure boss to spawn before tormented spirits possess other enemies or simply run away. To improve odds of ritual altars spawning in boss arena, I recommend allocating Atlas Notable Occult Devotion. Second method is more reliable, but will require ability to control your damage output. Shore map contains map boss Belzer the Pirate Lord that will spawn 2 special tormented spirits whenever he reaches 50% and 25% health thresholds. With that in mind, it's simply a matter of running Shore with ritual altars present until one spawns near map boss, capturing him, and then making sure he summons his phantasmal allies to possess him during the ritual encounter. Just like previous method, allocating Atlas Notable Occult Devotion is recommended. Defeat Breach Lord while affected by Shrine. For this task, I recommend allocating small Atlas passives, Domination Shrine Duration, as well as using selection of Breach Atlas passives like Breach Boss Chance, Power Struggle, and Gatekeepers to increase Breach Lord spawn rate. By far, the easiest method is using Breach Scarab of Lordship, if you have it, which will ensure every breach to spawn a Breach Lord. Make sure to increase amount of breaches and shrines present to minimize issues with unlucky shrine or breach placement. If your build can accommodate the Ghoul or Blunderbore, then you won't have to rely on shrines, which can make this task significantly easier. Defeat Blight Boss while Delirious. One of easier tasks for this challenge. Using a map with layers of Delirium applied will ensure your character is always delirious. Blight bosses are quite common, but you can guarantee their spawn by allocating Atlas Notable Blight Spawn or using Blight Scarab of Blooming. Defeat Delirium or Beyond Boss while in Sacred Grove. One of most RNG tasks for this challenge. Delirium and Beyond bosses cannot enter Sacred Grove, so you'll need to rely on them spawning inside of it. Ensure Sacred Grove and Delirium and or Beyond are present in your map while investing in likelihood of either boss spawning, and simply run maps until you get lucky. For Beyond, I recommend investing in most Beyond Atlas passives, and especially Atlas Notable Torn Veil. For Delirium, I recommend allocating Atlas Notable Delusions of Persecution with its preceding small Atlas passives. It will guarantee Delirium boss spawn in maps with at least 40% Delirium. Defeat Possessed Syndicate member. Ensure presence of both Betrayal and Tormented Spirits by use of Scarabs or Atlas passive tree. You can also try using rituals and rely on Haunted Ritual altars being present. This task can be completed with any Syndicate division, but it would be easiest to complete with Intervention or Fortification encounter. In case of Intervention encounter, it will usually spawn randomly soon after entering a map. Unless you leave or some of them are defeated, they should not leave. At that point, it's matter of kiting them towards Tormented Spirits or Haunted Ritual Altar. In case of Fortification encounter, reliable in a way that it's harder to accidentally defeat them, but it will require more lucky Tormented Spirit or Haunted Ritual Altar placement, since they can't be kited too far from their fortifications. Important note: once Possessed Syndicate member is defeated, make sure to finish the encounter by interrogating or executing them. If you leave them up while they're down, they will escape and will not count towards this challenge. Challenge 27. Ambitious Assignments. Have at least 10,000 blue Xanthimum. Upgrade your farming to at least rank 7 to be able to grow blue Xanthimum, and have at least 1 or more plots growing it. Have at least 5,000 Verisium bars. Upgrade your miners to rank 6 and your smelters to rank 7 to be able to mine and smelt Verisium. Verisium can be acquired from Verisium deposits that can be found inside of maps of any tier, as well as from Black Knight boss encounter that can randomly show up in tier 16 or higher maps. Complete port quotas 30 times. This one can be extremely easy or incredibly hard. Materials required by port quotas increase in volume with rank of your shipping. I highly recommend keeping your shipping at rank 6 or below until you complete this task. Simply send shipments containing amount of materials required. Keep in mind that each bar of metal counts as 5 units for purpose of port quota. Worst case scenario, you've already leveled shipping, and all your port quotas require ridiculous amount of resources. Thankfully, there is a way to fix this issue, but will require a little additional work. Make new character. If you're playing in SSF, make one in Softcore. If you're playing in Softcore, make one in SSF. You can also use the Necropolis Settlers League. If none of those options are left, you can still use Hardcore SSF and Normal Hardcore. They should work just as well. Step 2. Do not upgrade your shipping. Step 3. Complete port quotas until finished with this task. Disenchant unique items 30 times. This task requires fully upgraded disenchanting. Unique items will provide thaumaturgic dust depending on their item level, drop level, as well as special multiplier based on their tier. Claim rewards from Atlas runners 150 times. To establish mapping, you will need to upgrade your recruitment to rank 7. Once established, you will need to hire workers with ranks in mapping. Map tier and increased item quantity of the maps used, as well as mapping ranks of workers, will determine odds of success and likelihood of unfortunate outcomes. Once map runners complete a map, you can claim your rewards. Use Recombinator resulting in item level 75 or higher items 15 times. Recruitment rank 5 is needed to unlock Recombinator. Usage of Recombinator will require both gold and thaumaturgic dust. You will fuse 2 component items of the same class into one. Formula for item level of resulting item is average item level plus 2, capped at highest item level of 2 components used. Make sure average item level of both items is 73 or higher, and at least one of components used is at least 75 or higher. For more details on exact rules for this mechanic, I recommend checking PoE Wiki as well as Reddit thread linked in video description. Challenge 28. Magnificent Mastery. Keep in mind that you only need to complete 1 out of 4 tasks listed. Reach depth 400 in your Azurite mine. Gather sulfite in maps and progress deeper inside your Azurite mine. That's it. Increasing your character level to 90 or higher will cause main mineshaft to reach up to depth 101, which means you will need to dig down the remaining 299 levels. Once monsters reach level 83, they will continue to scale up in life and damage with depth. At depth 200, they will have about 44% more life and 2% more damage. At depth 300, they will have about 179% more life and 6% more damage. At depth 400, they will have about 410% more life and 16% more damage. To increase the amount of sulfite acquired from maps, I recommend use of Sulfide Scarabs, since they both guarantee Nico encounter as well as more than double amount of sulfite acquired. I don't recommend this task unless you like delving, as it will require quite a bit of time and is mutually exclusive to mapping, which can be a major downside. Capture red beasts 400 times. Einhar encounters in maps will always have at least one red beast present. I recommend allocating small Atlas passives, Bestiary red beast per chance, Bestiary red beast chance, and Bestiary yellow beast amount, alongside Atlas notable big game. Using Bestiary Scarab of the Horde will significantly increase amount of red beasts captured per map. I consider this the easiest and least invasive task for this challenge. Complete Betrayal Safe Houses 40 times. I recommend allocating Atlas Notables, Intelligence Gathering, Effective Leadership, and Test of Loyalty. With those allocated, make sure to always execute rank 0 or 1 syndicate targets and interrogate ones at rank 2 or 3 if you're not targeting their rewards. And you have available interrogation slots. Only 3 syndicate members can be interrogated at the same time. Division leaders provide more intelligence when interrogated in maps, but it will remove them from leadership position. Betrayal Scarab of Intelligence is best used whenever you're likely to interrogate highly ranked syndicate members and have 2 to 3 interrogation slots available. Upgrade Incursion Rooms to Tier 3, 200 times. I recommend allocating Atlas Notable, Artifacts of the Val, as well as Resource Reallocation, along with its preceding small Atlas passive, Incursion Upgrade Chance. With those allocated, always upgrade Tier 1 rooms. Optional Atlas Notable is Contested Development. It won't help you with the task itself, but will improve your ability to target specific room types. Any rooms that upgrade into Tier 3 due to effect of Empowerment room type will not count for this task. Challenge 29. Sanctified Scarabs 2. Complete rare Tier 16 or higher, at least 80% increased item quantity maps with 4 or more Scarabs applied, 75 times. This task requires at least 5-slot map device. Map increased item quantity is calculated only upon map completion. That's killing the final map boss. So the map itself doesn't need to have 80% increased item quantity. I recommend using Increased Item Quantity Map Crafting option, Cartographer's Chisels, as well as Atlas passives that increase map quantity and or effect of explicit map modifiers. Eldritch Altars that grant increased quantity and rarity will also help. Challenge 30. Arduous Atlas. Complete maps with total of 4000 explicit modifiers. Rare maps by default have 4 to 6 explicit modifiers, and corrupting them can cause them to have 8. Unique maps will also count their modifiers when completed. You can increase amount of explicit modifiers in your maps by opening them with Cartography Scarab of Risk or having Atlas Keystone Twist of Fate allocated. Keep in mind that this can be extremely dangerous. I don't recommend this method to builds that have any map modifiers that can prevent map completion. I recommend quantity over quality solution in this case. Running short map layouts like Mesa or City Square will be the quickest and lot safer approach. Challenge 31. Monstrous Memories. Defeat rare monsters with 3 or more modifiers in Atlas Memories, 100 times. Atlas Memories drop randomly in Tier 14 or higher maps. Rare monsters have 2 to 4 modifiers by default. Each Atlas memory will path alongside 3 to 6 maps depending on memory. To minimize amount of memories required, I recommend adding at least 1 layer of Delirium to each map, as well as rolling explicit map modifier 20 to 30% increased number of rare monsters when possible. There is currently no way to target farm for Atlas memories, except for Divination card set Avian Pursuit. It can currently drop from Tier 3 and Tier 4 Harvest monsters, as well as from Oshabi. It has drop level of 81, which means it can be acquired from Tier 12 or higher maps, since every monster that can drop it is at least rare. Harvest-focused Atlas strategies are recommended when farming for this card. Alba's Memory of Cascading Fortunes will spawn in total at least 18 clusters of 3 strongboxes. If every of those 18 strongboxes is rolled with Guarded by 3 Rare Monsters prefix modifier, this will add 162 rare monsters within 4 maps. Other Atlas memories that spawn guaranteed rare monsters include Einhar's Memory of Harvest Beasts will spawn at least 30 rare beasts within 3 maps. Kirak's Memory of Faril will spawn at least around 88 Harbingers, each of which can summon additional rare monsters within 4 maps. Nico's Memory of Tormented Souls will spawn 18 additional rare monsters within 3 maps. League-specific method. Bismuth Deposit encounters will add 1 elemental modifier to all magic and rare monsters once activated. This will cause all rare enemies that previously had 2 modifiers to count for this challenge as well. Challenge 32. Tremendous Township. Fully upgrade King's March. You will naturally upgrade your buildings as you gather resources over time. There is only one advice I can give you here. Do not upgrade your smelting too early. Your smelters will smelt raw ore into bars, and this can cause issues. If you still have any buildings that require raw ore to upgrade, and will need to unassign them to prevent that from happening. Before smelting rank 1, make sure you have already built recruitment rank 3, mining rank 3, and shipping rank 2. Before smelting rank 2, make sure you have already built recruitment rank 4 and shipping rank 4. Before smelting rank 5, make sure you have already built recruitment rank 6 and shipping rank 5. And finally, before smelting rank 7, make sure to have already built recruitment rank 8 and shipping rank 7. Challenge 33. Agitated Adversaries. Keep in mind that you only need to complete 3 out of 5 tasks listed. Defeat King in the Mists without failing Ritual of Dance and Ritual of Meditation. To fight King in the Mists, you will need to acquire an audience with the King, which can be obtained from ritual altars as one of possible favor offerings, inside of tier 14 or higher maps. It is guaranteed to show up inside of nameless ritual altars. Ritual of Dance refers to a special debuff. It will last for 8 seconds and is visible as purple aura around your character. You have to keep moving until it expires. Catchphrases: keep running and riff. Ritual of Meditation refers to a special debuff. It will last for 8 seconds and is visible as red aura around your character. You have to avoid moving until it expires. Catchphrases: Traveler's Bane, You Are Seen, and Sloagarn. Defeat Lycia in Sanctum without being affected by Heretic's Ire. Lycia, Herald of the Scourge, is final boss of Sanctum. It's a 32-room-long dungeon, which requires Forbidden Tomes to attempt. These tomes drop randomly from enemies, with drop level 68 or higher. You will need to complete side quest, aiding an archivist during Act 10 for them to start dropping. To fight Lycia in area level 83, you will need to use Forbidden Tome of at least level 80 or higher. Forbidden Sanctum consists of 4 floors, and each floor after the first one will increase area level by 1 up to 83. Heretic's Ire refers to a debuff applied by touching spinning bladed staves summoned by Lycia in her true form throughout the fight. It will cause you to take chaos damage over time. She will summon additional staves as the fight continues. She can move them towards the player's current location after catchphrase Swift Death. This happens very quickly, and to avoid being hit, it's recommended to move away from whatever spot your character was at the time while avoiding being anywhere between that location and any of the staves. Defeat Izaro in Empowered Labyrinth without being hit by Ornamental Cascade. Every Empowered Labyrinth is at appropriate level for this challenge, but I recommend avoiding using Tribute to the Goddess, since it will significantly increase difficulty of the fight. To acquire improved offerings, you will need to allocate Atlas Notable, Trial of Glory, and/or Shaping the Skies. They can also rarely drop from treasure chests at the end of Endgame Labyrinth. In case of Dedication and Gift to the Goddess, Izaro will have 30% increased damage and 300% increased maximum life. In case of Tribute to the Goddess, Izaro will have 60% increased damage and 400 increased maximum life, as well as 50% increased area of effect and 30% increased attack, cast, and movement speed. Ornamental Cascade refers most likely to a cascade of 10 green projectiles launched towards the current location of player character by the Goddess of Justice, which attacks separately from Izaro himself. It's one of her 3 possible attacks. Her Summon Guardians ability can be easily mistaken for Ornamental Cascade, since it launches similar-looking projectiles, except in random directions, and will cause skeleton minions to spawn where they land. You can be still hit by those without failing this task. Defeat Syndicate Mastermind without taking damage from Sculpture. Area level of Mastermind Safehouse depends on area level of Syndicate Safehouses that provided Mastermind Intelligence. To ensure appropriate level of Mastermind, make sure to complete at least some Betrayal encounters in Tier 16 or higher maps. Sculpture refers to Immobile Sculpture in the middle of the boss arena, which will send waves of energy in clockwise pattern during intermission phases of the fight. It always starts with bottom right direction. Defeat Aul, the Crystal King, after destroying all crystalline cocoons. Aul, the Crystal King, is one of 3 Delve bosses and spawns within the Crystal King's Throne Delve node in Primeval Ruins biome at depths 130 or deeper. To fight him in area level 83, you will need to find him at depths 145 or deeper. There are total of 8 crystalline cocoons, placed along outer walls of the boss arena. They cannot be destroyed by player themselves. Aul, the Crystal King, will once in a while shield himself in the middle of the arena and send multiple spectral shield charge attacks towards player's current location. Any crystalline cocoons they collide with will be destroyed and increase difficulty of some of Aul's other attacks. Challenge 34. Extravagant Equipment. Keep in mind that you only need to complete 6 out of 12 tasks listed. Use Sacred Orb. Currency item with drop rate about 3 times rarer than Exalted or Divine Orb. It can drop anywhere. League specific method. Normally there is no way to target farm it, but during Settlers of Kalguur League it can be seen reasonably often when sending crop shipments with value higher than around 20 million. Use Hinekora's Lock. Currency item with drop rate that seems to be around 10 times rarer than Sacred Orb, as extrapolated from slightly unreliable data. It can drop anywhere. There is currently no way to target farm it, and as such, I don't recommend it for this challenge. Use Mirror of Kalandra. Currency item with drop rate more than 1000 times rarer than Exalted or Divine Orb. It can drop anywhere. It can also be assembled from 20 mirror shards that can rarely drop from Harbingers and Harbinger-themed rewards. There are multiple divination card sets that can be turned in for mirror itself or mirror shards. Most reasonable sets to farm are 7 Years Bad Luck and Unrequited Love that can drop in maps. Those are extremely rare, and despite there being plenty of farming strategies for them, I do not recommend using Mirror of Kalandra for this challenge. League specific method. During Settlers of Kalguur League, crop shipments with value of 50 million will provide between 0 to 6 mirror shards, with average being around 2 per shipment. Use Conqueror's Exalted Orb. This task refers to 4 separate currencies: Warlords, Redeemers, Hunters, and Crusaders' Exalted Orbs, also known as Elder Slayers' Exalted Orbs. These orbs can only drop from their respective Elder Slayers or Maven's Invitation, the Erdel Slayers. There is also divination card set, the Long Con, which can be turned in for a random Elder Slayer's Exalted Orb, and it can be acquired randomly from treasure chests at the end of Eternal Labyrinth or Enriched Eternal Labyrinth. Use Awakener's Orb. Currency item that only drops from Cirrus, Awakener of Worlds. This includes both his standard and Uber variant. It has about 15 to 20% chance to drop. To fight his standard variant, you will need a full set of Conqueror fragments that are guaranteed to drop from each Elder Slayer. To fight his Uber variant, you will need a set of 5 Awakening fragments acquired from tier 17 maps, most likely to drop from Fortress and Sanctuary maps. Use Orb of Dominance. Currency item that only drops from Cirrus, Awakener of Worlds, the Elder, and the Shaper. This includes both their standard and Uber, or Uber in case of Elder variants. It has about 1 to 5% chance to drop. Orb of Dominance can also be rarely acquired from Maven's Invitation, the Feared. Use Orb of Conflict. Currency item that can drop only within Maven's Crucible or from the Maven. This includes both her standard and Uber variant. It has about 35% chance to drop from the boss fight. To fight her standard variant, you will need to gather 10 Crescent Splinters from Maven's Crucible fights to assemble the Maven's Vrit. To fight her Uber variant, you will need a set of 5 Reality Fragments acquired from tier 17 maps, most likely to drop from Abomination and Ziggurat maps. Use Tailoring or Tempering Orb. Currency items that can be obtained rarely as possible reward from Curio Displays and Grand Heists. Grand Heists can be accessed with Heist Blueprints. Each revealed wing will contain 5 Curio Displays in the final room, with random rewards inside of each of them. Use Fracturing Orb. Currency item that can be assembled from 20 Fracturing Shards that can drop from Harbingers and Harbinger-themed rewards. It can also be acquired from Divination card set I See Brothers, which currently drops from Strand map and Acton's Nightmare unique map. Use Veiled Orb. Currency item that only drops from Katarina, Master of Undeath, otherwise known as Syndicate Mastermind. This does not include her variant present in tier 17 Ziggurat map. It has around 15 to 30% chance to drop based on her level. To fight her, you will need to first interrogate Syndicate division leaders after raiding their safe houses. That will provide Mastermind intelligence, which will allow you to initiate the fight once enough is accrued. Use Tainted Divine Teardrop. Currency item which can rarely drop from Beyond Demons. Beyond bosses will always drop some guaranteed random tainted currency. Use Reflecting Mist. Currency item which can rarely drop when interacting with randomly spawned Reflecting Mist encounters in tier 16 or higher maps. These encounters can spawn randomly from defeated enemy packs. Challenge 35. Inciting Invitations. Complete invitations with total of 3000 increased item quantity. This challenge requires completion of invitations, which includes all Maven's Crucible invites provided by Kirak, as well as Eldritch invitations for the Eater of Worlds and the Searing Exarch, including their sub-bosses, the Infinite Hunger, and the Black Star. Your Atlas will not have effect on these invitations. You can try corrupting invitations to possibly reroll them into having 8 modifiers, but it's quite risky and I don't recommend it for harder boss fights. Challenge 36. Realized Realms. Unlock 6-slot map device. There are 2 tasks which will unlock 1 additional slot on your map device each. Beating Maven, accessed with the Maven's Vrit, and completing a natural tier 17 map. Valdo's Puzzle Box tier 17s will not count. Use Maven Chisels 10 times. Maven Chisels can drop randomly from Maven Witnessed bosses as well as from Maven's Crucible. You can also receive a stack of 20 Maven Chisels from Kirak's Vault Pass from Free Track for completing 80 map bonus objectives. These chisels will improve map quality like Cartographer's Chisels, but instead of improving item quantity, they will scale currency, divination cards, item rarity, pack size, or scarabs, depending on the type of chisel used. Challenge 37. Challenging competitors. Keep in mind that you only need to complete 4 out of 6 tasks listed. Initiating Settlers of Kalguur boss encounters. There is 3 bosses that have been added as part of Settlers of Kalguur League. Each of them has a specific way to initiate their encounter. Admiral Valerius will require you to send shipments to other ports. Whenever a ship is on the way, it can be captured, which will pause its journey and allow you to either initiate a fight or pay 50,000 gold to recover the crew. You can also abandon them, but you will lose both the crew and their cargo. Sasan, the Bandit Lord, is a bit harder to reliably encounter. He can capture your map runners, just like Admiral Valerius can with your ships. Main difference is that the gold cost of running them is significantly higher, and they can be easily interrupted by untimely death. The Black Knight is a random encounter in tier 16 or higher maps. Starfall Crater will rarely spawn, and interacting with it will allow you to enter his boss arena, which is a sub-area and will not inherit any of your current map modifiers. Defeat Admiral Valerius without being hit by Anchor Smash. Anchor Smash refers to an attack that Admiral will cast during his first and second phases. He will create an anchor hovering above ground with circular outline below it. Said anchor will drop after a short moment and deal damage in indicated radius. It's extremely easy to avoid. Catchphrases: Sink, Depths Crush You, or Be Crushed. Defeat Admiral Valerius without being affected by 5 or more stacks of Soaked to the Bone. Soaked to the Bone is a stacking debuff that is applied when touching a maze of water geysers summoned by Admiral Valerius during his first and second intermission phases, at 66 and 33% health. During those phases, tidal waves will try to push you into them. This task can be easily done by simply standing in northern part of the arena, outside of Water Geyser Maze. Defeat Sasan, the Bandit Lord, without being hit by Circle of Flame. Circle of Flame refers to an attack where Sasan creates a ring of fiery runes on the ground, which will be set ablaze after a moment, and fires maiming arrows inside of it. Simply leave the affected area as soon as fiery ring of runes appears. Catchphrases: You're trapped, Gotcha, Cooked Alive, or No Running. Defeat Sasan, the Bandit Lord, without being hit by Hail of Arrows. Hail of Arrows refers to an attack performed by Sasan after his intermission phase at 50% life remaining. He will first cast Flare Arrows ability, which will begin falling at player location and will track him for the duration. These Flare Arrows will stay there permanently. Afterwards, he will call upon a Hail of Arrows ability, which will cause arrows to fall at all areas marked by Flare Arrows beforehand. Easiest way to complete this task is to simply slowly move around edges of the boss arena to avoid placing Flare Arrows in disadvantageous spots. Flare Arrow catchphrase: Put them down. Hail of Arrows catchphrases: Archers Fire, Archers Release, or Rain Fire. Defeat the Black Knight without being hit by any falling rocks. This task refers to Black Knight's Rockfall ability that will cause many growing blue indicators to appear around the arena. After a moment, every of those marked areas will be hit by a rock falling from the sky. He will perform that attack at 60 and 20% life remaining. Simply move out of the blue circles as soon as possible. Catchphrase: Steel yourself, warrior, or Let's test your resolve. Defeat the Black Knight without being affected by Verisium Laser. The Black Knight will sometimes summon stone pillars and proceed to channel laser, which will track your character. You can block it by hiding behind those stone pillars, but they will be destroyed after a short moment. They will often be destroyed before he's finished channeling, and his tracking is extremely fast. And as such, this task might be one of the hardest to perform legitimately for this challenge. There are 2 reliable methods to complete this task. Cheesing it by simply logging out whenever he summons the stone pillars, and re-entering his fight after a quick relog, or simply outdamaging the Black Knight to prevent him from ever performing that attack. Challenge 38. Nightmarish Nemeses. Complete each Tier 17 map with 250 or more increased item quantity. Tier 17 maps always generate with 6 modifiers, and can be corrupted with Val Orbs to potentially generate with 8 modifiers. This is extremely dangerous, and as such, I don't recommend that method. I will assume we're using non-corrupted 6 modifier Tier 17 maps with 20% standard quality from here on. Map increased item quantity can be represented as an equation where map's base EEQ from map modifiers is multiplied by map modifier effect multiplier from our Atlas passive tree, and we add all remaining flat EEQ from quality, Atlas tree, and map device. For this challenge, I recommend allocating all map modifier effect and EEQ related Atlas passives for a total of flat 15% increased quantity of items found in your maps, 62% increased effect of explicit map modifiers, 2% increased effect of explicit map modifiers per explicit map modifier. In this case, 12% for standard 6 mod Tier 17 map, 3% effect of explicit map modifiers per 5% map quality. In this case, 12% for standard 20% quality Tier 17 map. These, along with flat 8% increased quantity from free map crafting option and flat 20% increased quantity from map quality, will provide us with 86% increased effect of explicit map modifiers and flat 43% increased item quantity. In addition, we can use map fragments that add flat increased item quantity per each fragment used. Duplicates will not count. There are two types of map fragments that boost map quantity. In the 5% per fragment used group, we have Sacrifice, Elder, and Shaper fragments. In the 10% per fragment used group, we have Mortal, Conqueror, and Uber Elder fragments. Assuming full 6-slot map device and use of 5 map fragments that add 10% map quantity each, our flat increased item quantity is now equal to 93%. This means that our current equation looks like this: x multiplied by 1.86 with an additional flat 93 added on top. That means that our current base increased item quantity from map modifiers alone has to be equal to 85%, and as a result, your 20% quality maps will need to have at least 105% increased map quantity. There is also an additional method of improving map quantity that can be used if you have a map that is just a little bit below our calculated EEQ requirement. Eldritch Altars can offer an option to increase map quantity and rarity in exchange for downsides applied to your player character. These bonuses will count for this task as long as they are applied before the map boss is defeated. You can try damaging the map boss down to low health before using these altars if their downsides are too difficult. Check possible effects of Eldritch Altars before making a choice between using Searing Exarch or Eater of Worlds Influence to minimize chances of any build disabling mods showing up. Challenge 39. Ultimate Usurpers. Keep in mind that you only need to complete 4 out of 7 tasks listed. Defeat 4 different Uber Pinnacle bosses. You can access Uber Pinnacle bosses by acquiring 5 copies of Uber Fragments that correspond to each boss. You can obtain these Uber Fragments from Tier 17 map bosses, with a bias towards specific Uber Fragments depending on specific Tier 17 map used. Uber Shaper fragments drop more often from Citadel and Fortress maps. Uber Elder fragments drop more often from Citadel and Fortress maps. Uber Sirius fragments drop more often from Fortress and Sanctuary maps. Uber Cortex fragments drop more often from Abomination, Citadel, and Ziggurat maps. Uber Exarch fragments drop more often from Abomination and Sanctuary maps. Uber Ether fragments drop more often from Sanctuary and Ziggurat maps. Uber Maven fragments drop more often from Abomination and Ziggurat maps. I highly recommend getting familiar with each Uber Pinnacle boss mechanics before engaging them due to relatively high cost of practice. Challenge 40. Gear Grinding Goals. Keep in mind that you only need to complete 4 out of 6 tasks listed. Reach level 100. Main piece of advice I can give for this task is to avoid dying. But if you can't, try stocking up on Omens of Amelioration. Those omens can be acquired from rituals and will be consumed upon death. Their effect will cause the default 10% experience penalty to become substantially less punishing, 2.5% instead. Do everything you can to avoid dying. Don't overjuice your maps, read area modifiers, watch out for dangerous enemies. While scaling difficulty of content will increase rewards, it does not increase experience gained nearly as much. Delve, Heist, and Sanctum can be often safer and more predictable than normal mapping. Cleanse Dark Shrines in the Endgame Labyrinth 300 times. This task refers to Endgame Labyrinth, which means Eternal Labyrinth as well as Enriched Eternal Labyrinth. Amount of Dark Shrines present in each is usually 3 to 4, but there have been cases when there were 2 or 5. To activate 300 of them, you will need on average 100 full Labyrinth runs, which will cost 1 offering of the goddess per entry. Dark Shrines are hidden behind secret walls, which can be opened by interacting with special switches next to them. Make sure to visit poelab.com website, since it hosts the daily Labyrinth layouts that are being mapped out every day. It's also a great resource to get familiar with Labyrinth mechanics. Activate Eldritch Altars or defeat Witnessed map bosses 400 times. If you want to activate altars, I recommend investing in their corresponding Atlas passives to increase their spawn rate. Atlas notables, the Light of Dawn for Searing Exarch, and the Shadow of Hunger for Eater of Worlds, depending on your choice of Eldritch influence. Maven Witnessed map bosses will count every natural map boss as well as those spawned as a result of Atlas Keystone Destructive Play. Twinned map modifier will also count for this task. Defeat level 83 or higher rare monsters with 4 or more modifiers, 250 times. By default, rare monsters can spawn with 2 to 4 modifiers. You really shouldn't have problem completing this task passively while doing other challenges, but you can always make it a bit easier. Horned Scarab of Nemeses will guarantee every rare enemy to have at least 4 modifiers. Ultimatum encounters can have Lethal Rare Monsters modifier, which can cause rare monsters within to have 2 additional modifiers. League-specific method. Bismuth Deposit encounters will add 1 elemental modifier to all magic and rare monsters. This will cause all rare enemies with 3 modifiers to count towards this challenge as well. Complete Tier 17 maps 50 times. To facilitate drops of Tier 17 maps, make sure to acquire all 4 Void Stones as soon as possible. Make sure to avoid rolling any modifiers that can break your build. You can use Scarab of Stability as well as Scarab of Bisection to make any Tier 17 map easier to complete. Claim rewards from Tier 14 or higher rare maps completed by Atlas Runners 200 times. Atlas Runners' chance of successful completion of any given map is based on their ranks, map tier, and map quantity. To increase their odds of success, I recommend hiring highest possible ranked map runners, as well as avoiding adding quality to your maps. You can improve their odds further by simply using regal orbs on magic maps with a single modifier to create 2 mod rare maps. If you want to improve their odds even further, you can use Orbs of Annulment to remove map modifiers without changing their rarity and create 1 or 0 mod rare maps. Thank you for watching. I sincerely apologize for taking so long to finish this video, but I do hope that someone will find it useful, or maybe informative at the very least. Have a good one, and see you next time.